Is it projector turned on? Okay. Just give me a second to set this up. So I think, since so many of you were not here yesterday, is it all right with everybody if we go through the whole thing from the beginning? Is that all right with everybody who was here yesterday? Is that okay? Is that okay? We'll start over, yeah. We'll go more quickly through the first part. So we'll spend most of our time on the last part. But if I just go to the last part.
And these are people from yoga club, so they have no idea who you are. And
They have no idea who I am.
and what it's all about.
Should I introduce myself?
Yeah, it's nice.
It's always a little odd thing to do, but anyway. Okay, let me just do a sound check here. Not getting sound. Because it's going there. Okay. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Thanks. Oh, we've lost the. That's not going to mess up the sound, is it?
No.
Is it all right if that window gets closed? Thank you.
No, it's okay. We can keep one open. We can keep one open, right? Oh, you're not, you're cold?
I don't have cement with me. Oh. Okay. All right, good. I'm not from here, you know, my sense of what's hot and what's cold is a little different from all of yours. Okay, thank you. All right. So my name is Urmila Edith Best, and I've been a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga for 52 years, almost exactly 52 years. I travel around the world teaching about Bhakti Yoga. I also have a PhD in education, and I've written a bunch of books, which are, most of them are for sale in the BLS across the street. If you're interested, or you can also get them on Amazon. Is that enough introduction about myself? Or is there anything else you want to know about me?
You're a disciple of your Prabhupada. That's nice.
That yes, I'm an initiated disciple of the founder of our movement, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So he accepted me as his disciple in 1973. And I've been a practicing core member of his movement since that time.
And you're a mother.
And I'm a mother and a grandmother and a great-grandmother. And because my last name is Best, because my name is actually Dr. Urmila Edith Best, so I am the best great-grandmother. I wrote this series of children's books called Dr. Best Learn to Read, and someone said, "How did you think of that name?" And I'm like, well, that's my name. So I think we'll just chant the Hare Krishna. I broke my arm, my hand, this bone, right? So I can't play any instruments, but I think we can just chant Hare Krishna a little bit, yeah? And then we have a presentation. All right? Is that all right with everybody? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rajacharya Asatara Satashri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dhamma Ki Jai, Mathura Dhamma Ki Jai, Navadvip Mayapur Dhamma Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dhamma Ki Jai, Gangamaya Jamuna Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nivasesa Sannivani Paskachati Satarani. Manchakalpaji Vistaki Vistani Avatapati Tanam Pavane Vyavashi. Putting a phone by water is not good. All right, so because we have so many people who were not here yesterday, this was supposed to be part 2. So I'm going to go back and start at the beginning. I'm going to go fairly quickly through the first part. This is a presentation from the 32nd chapter of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, altogether verses 15 through 22. And this is the part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Is my English slow enough for everybody? Everybody's okay? If any of you who have English as your second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth language, if I say something you don't understand, please just raise your hand and ask me to clarify, okay? Is that a deal? All right. So this part of the Srimad Bhagavatam, also called the Bhagavat Purana, deals with the most intimate, most esoteric, and highest expression of love for God. And this type of love of God is certainly spoken about in all the great religions of the world, but not perhaps as openly as in the Bhagavad Purana. So, for example, in Roman Catholicism, they have some understanding of what's called bridal ecstasy, and persons like St. John of the Cross and St. Teresa of Avila wrote extensively about seeing the Lord as one's husband, as one's beloved. Such things are also understood among the Sufis and in the Kabbalah. Certainly the Song of Solomon in the Bible speaks to this type of relationship with God. But again, this understanding is not so much prevalent if you go into most places of religion or spirituality. It's not so clearly understood. So this particular story that we're narrating here is of persons who were practicing spiritual life and developed a desire to have a relationship between themselves as soul and the Supreme Soul, or Sri Krishna, the Supreme Lord, in this mood. Now, this mood of romantic attachment to the Lord should not be confused with the romantic attachment between physical bodies of flesh and blood in this world. That relationship in this world is a reflection or some idea of the original relationship, just like Plato talks about the cave, yes? Where in the cave you see shadows of what's happening outside the cave. So our inclination for love in this world, and especially our inclination for romantic love in this world, is simply some indication of the fact that this type of love between the pure soul and the Lord exists with fully spiritual bodies and without any tinge of material lust or exploitation. It is the reality for which we aspire in our worldly romantic relationships. It's kind of the, we have this idea of what romantic love is like in this world. And I think we can say that it very rarely, if ever, fully measures up to that ideal, right? The romantic stories end with, and they lived happily ever after. But all the details of it are not quite what we expected, because in this world, such relationships are taking place not between soul to soul entirely, but also on the physical platform through which our identity becomes distorted. But we can get some idea, because there's this inclination for this type of love in this world, we can get some idea that it must exist in the spiritual realm. So this is a story of persons who were practicing yoga, like we are practicing yoga, with this aspiration, how they gradually entered into a loving relationship with the Lord, how it appeared that he left them and then came back to them, and they were wondering how this could happen. How could he call them, apparently leave them, and come back to them? This particular interchange of the Lord is also relevant to us as practicing yogis and practicing spiritualists, because do we sometimes feel we get a glimpse of ultimate reality and then it disappears? Do we sometimes feel, I'm practicing my yoga, I'm practicing my mantras, I'm practicing my sadhana. Oh, there it is. There's what I wanted, and then it's gone again. Like a cloudy day when the sun peeks out for a moment and then again disappears. We may get realizations, we may get understanding, we may feel that we've conquered our false ego to such an extent, and then again, it seems that it's back again. And we may think, what is the Lord doing with me? What is the divine? How is the divine playing with me? What's going on? So although this story takes place between extremely elevated, pure souls and the Lord, still there's some understanding for us on our spiritual journey. All right, so this starts millions and millions of years ago with the appearance of the Lord as Ramachandra. So the great yogis in the forest, when Ram was there, they saw him and they thought, we want to develop this spiritual love with you as if we were husband and wife. And Ram said, that's not possible in this avatar. You're going to have to wait for millions of years until I appear as Krishna. And they did so. And when Krishna had appeared, Krishna appears once in every trillions and trillions of years in the universe. When he had appeared before, the personifications of the scriptures, they also had this desire. They said, we want to come and see the Lord and marry him. But they had to wait until he appeared again. So when he appeared again, they took birth as young women in the village where Krishna incarnated as an avatar. And then again they had to wait till they were grown up and it was a suitable time. And then one night, in the middle of the night, they heard a flute that sounded like their own name being called. And so they left their homes in the middle of the night to run to see the Lord. And when they saw him, he said, transcendental love for me arises by the devotional process of hearing about me, seeing my deity form, meditating on me, and faithfully chanting my glories. The same result is not achieved by mere physical proximity, so please go back to your homes. And they said, no, we're not going home. We've been waiting for you for billions of years, and now you've called us, and we're not going home. So being moved by their great desire, the Lord started singing with them and dancing with them and joking and wandering on the bank of the river Yamuna. And they were thinking, now we have achieved our heart's desire. We are the most fortunate persons in the universe. He disappeared. They looked around and he was gone. Where did he go? And they were looking everywhere, and they became transcendentally absorbed so much in Krishna and his pastimes that they started feeling their sense of oneness with Krishna. They started imitating his different pastimes, following the prints of his feet in the ground, going deeper and deeper and deeper in the forest, seeing that Krishna had even left his most intimate consort, Srimati Radharani. And as they searched for him in the forest, they thought, you know, if we keep looking for him, he's going to keep going further and further away, running in the dark forest. Maybe he'll injure his feet. Why don't we just sit down and wait for him and sing?
Tava Katamrita
And as they sat there singing, he reappeared. This was a commission painting for our publication of the Srimana Shiksha, and this painting exactly follows the descriptions in the Bhagavad Purana and the Srimad Bhagavatam of when Krishna returned to his beloveds and exactly his dealings with each of them. So we look at these three verses. We recited the Sanskrit of these yesterday, so we're not going to recite them again. I'm going to go through these quickly because then we're going to explain them again. Okay, so Krishna returned and the gopis had their question. And what they were thinking, now this is not just from the verses, this is also from the commentaries of our acharyas, from Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, and from the book Ananda Vrindavan Champu. They were thinking, no gentleman would call his beloved, show his affection, and then disappear. What do we call that today? Ghosting. They said, we love Krishna without any reservation. Govinda is another name for Krishna. Why doesn't he reciprocate with us? Does he want to abandon us in the middle of the night? We should ask him some questions so he'll be forced to show how ungrateful he is. We'll pose a question about love, and then we'll reveal our hearts. So he had awakened these transcendent, spiritual, romantic desires within the gopis. Gopis means cowherd girls. So these were girls in a cowherd village that took care of cows, and they would sell the milk products in the nearby town. And they were having this sweet relationship externally, but internally these ladies were very angry. How could you call us and then leave us? So they said, would you please answer us with something? Because they didn't want to openly say they were angry. They thought he might leave again. You ever get mad at God, but you don't quite want to tell him how mad you are? So there's like, we don't know anything. You know, we're village girls. And we have a question. Since you're very learned, you can answer it properly. They wanted Krishna to prove with his own words that he was ungrateful. So their questions. They said, who's the most loving person? We think there's 3 types of way of showing love in this world. One is you love people who love you. As they love you, you love them. Do unto others as they do unto you. That's not how it goes, is it? I don't think so. So that was their idea of that there's this kind of love. And then there's where you love others even if they don't love you. And then you don't love anybody. They said these are the 3 types of people. And, my dear Lord, who are you? What were they really asking? Do you love us? Do you not care? Or do you hate us? Do you ever wonder this with God? Do you really love me? Do you not know I exist? Maybe you don't love me. And we don't know. Do you have conditional love for us? Well, we're here for you and you left, so couldn't be conditional love. Is it unconditional? No, because then when we were in distress when you left, you didn't show up. Do you not care? Well, that can't be true because you do things to show us favor and disfavor. Do you hate us all the time? No, you often show you love us. Are you being mean to us because of something we did? No, we didn't do anything mean. When we're wondering, why is it the Lord, why is it the divine is relating with me this way? We should ask. And those of you here yesterday, what's the caveat? If you ask Krishna a question, caveat, C-A-V-E-A-T.
What's that?
You asked me that yesterday. And what was the answer? What's a caveat?
Condition.
A condition. Maybe write it down this time. We're good friends. It's okay. Right? It's all right. What's the caveat? If you ask Krishna a question, what's the condition? There's a condition, there's a caveat. What is it?
Have to do what you're told.
Yeah, you got to be willing to listen to the answer. You ever had anybody ask you for advice and, oh, please, can I have your advice? Can you help me? And you tell them and they're like, well, I'm not going to do that. And then you think, well, why did you ask me? You understand? And maybe next time they say, can I have your advice? You'll say, I'm kind of busy this afternoon. So Prabhupada often says, Srila Prabhupada, the founder of our Hare Krishna movement, he often says that the Lord is eager to talk to us. It's a question of whether or not we're willing to listen. So if we're going to talk to the Lord, there's a... Very good. Adding to your English vocabulary, right? There's a caveat. And that is that we have to listen. So we can ask the Lord, do you love me? Do you not care about me? Do you hate me? Why are you dealing with me this way? Why do you seem to call me? And I show up and then you disappear. Why are you doing this? So now Krishna is going to give his answers. We also read these verses yesterday, so we're not going to read them again today. So Krishna looked at them very sweetly with sidelong glances. And he gave a little humorous answer, like he could revive a person from death. Now he took these 3 and he broke them up into how many? Who was here yesterday? 9. He said the first kind is those who just give whatever they get. They're merchants, they're calculating, they're keeping score. I did this for you and I'm not going to do any more until you give something back. Very calculated. There's not really love going on. Like you go to a shop, right? You know, not loving the merchants, I mean, unless they're your friends. But generally you go to a shop, there's no love. You're just going there to buy something. And you want to get a good deal, even if it's at their expense. And they want to make more money off of you. You understand? Yeah? You don't say, oh, it's a sale. Are you making enough money? You sure? Maybe I should pay you the full price? And Krishna says this very heavy thing. He says there's no permanent dharma, no prema. Prema means love. There's no friendship, no happiness, no religiousness, nothing in these kind of relationships. And he says even those who don't have any love are better than those whose love is actually like a merchant. Now, anyone from yesterday remember, how do we know we're in a merchant relationship? What's the sign that my mentality, I'm not talking about the other person, my mentality is merchant in an apparently loving relationship? How do I know?
You must reciprocate.
And if they don't reciprocate the way I want, when I want, how I want, what do I become? Angry. And I may say or think, I did this, and 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 I did this. And you can't even do that. I remember once seeing a mother with a young child, 5, 6 years old, and she asked the child, get me a cup of water, and he was still playing. And she said, I fed you with the milk from my own body for 2 years, and you can't get me a cup of water? But we'll think like that. And by the way, when we compare, please listen carefully, this is important. When I have a merchant relationship with someone and I'm comparing what I've done to what they do, I look at not the results of what I've done, I've looked at my sacrifices. Do you understand the difference between that? I look at the difficulty I've gone through to get those results for you. I don't just say, I cooked you lasagna. I think, I looked up the recipe online. I tried to find a recipe that you would really like. I went to the store. I bought special ingredients. I spent 4 hours in the kitchen. And then you didn't even come home on time. So I look at the other person's results. You understand? I look at my sacrifice and I compare that, which is a very unfair comparison, by the way. I'm looking at my motives, my intentions, my endeavor, and I'm looking at the other person's external results. And I compare them, and then I say, I don't think that's equal. By the way, in merchant relationships, we also become angry if we feel that the other person's giving so much that we cannot even out the score. We feel very uncomfortable, like we would feel if we owed someone a lot of money that we couldn't pay. Then whenever we saw that person, we would walk to the other side of the street. We wouldn't want to confront them. Sometimes we feel this way with God. Sometimes we feel with the Lord, He's giving me so much and I'm not doing my part, and so then we avoid Him more and more. And remember, with these relationships, there's no dharma, there's no love, there's no friendship, there's no happiness. We're basically always keeping score and always trying to be ahead of the game. We always are trying to get a little more than what we're giving. You understand? In any merchant relationship, you're always trying to give a little less and get a little more. Okay, next category. Those who show affection even to those who are indifferent. So here Krishna gives two subcategories, pure devotees and family. So those who are liberated souls, enlightened beings, pure in love of God, they are kind to everyone, even who's not kind to them. And then family, especially parents to children. And here's the opposite. Dharma and prema are lasting. They feel the happiness and distress of others like their own, even when there's no reciprocation. This is the prime symptom of spirituality. Spirituality is when I'm happy at others' happiness, I'm distressed at others' distress. So one is the great devotees, the enlightened beings, and one example is of Prahlad Maharaj. His father was very abusive towards him, trying to kill him. Because of that, the Lord himself appeared and killed the abuser. So this little boy Prahlad, he was happy his father had been punished and killed. But then he said, "My dear Lord, I would like my father to become rectified joyfully. I want him to become rectified without suffering, even though he was so offensive to me and caused me so much suffering." He didn't have malice towards his abuser. And Krishna says, "Oh, my dear ladies, oh, my dear thin-waisted women, this middle question, like the middle portion of your body, describes your love for me, that even though I left you, your love never diminished." And the other category is family members, right? And we see this. Of course, there are also very dysfunctional families or abusive families or whatever. But in your kind of, let's say, normal, healthy family. So even if the children become criminal or go wayward or ungrateful, right, or estrange themselves from the parents never stop loving them. And there's this sense when you're a parent, and I think especially, I was saying this yesterday, any of you ever held a very, very small, happy or sleeping baby? Anybody here ever held a very small, happy or sleeping baby? And when you're holding that little baby, think about like sitting in a rocking chair and you're holding this little sleeping baby and you're rocking. You're filled with love for this child that has no way of loving you in return. It's difficult to say if this, 2-month-old baby even knows that you exist as a separate person. So you're not feeling this happiness because someone is loving you. You're feeling this happiness because you're loving. And this love you feel for this child, it's a very great love. Yes, anyone who's experienced it? I think it's one of the most astonishing experiences that one can have in this world. So what to speak, if we can feel this love for one living being, if we feel this love for God, for the divine who's everything, how much we're filled with that love, which is kind of the essence of these whole verses. But this concept of loving someone independent of whether or not they're loving us in return. Then he goes to the ungrateful people. Here he has many subcategories. So the first category of people who don't seem to love anyone are spiritually enlightened beings who are so full with divine love that they may appear to be indifferent to the loving relationships of the world. Some of these people leave the world. They go to a cave up in the Himalayas somewhere. They don't interact with anyone. And you can say, "Why don't you love anybody?" I'm already full of divine love. Why do I need to interact with the world? Then there are people who feel they have all their material desires fulfilled. They have as much money as they want, as many friends and family as they want, and they don't really need your love, so they may be indifferent to you. Then there's the fools. These people want to love. They want loving relationships, but they're so foolish that they can't see anything anybody does for them. They're just unaware of it. Right? They come home and their house is clean and they don't even notice that they're partners. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's my partner. They're supposed to do it. They're supposed to clean the house." They don't notice anything. They're blind to it. They're so absorbed in themselves. Then you have the category of Guru Druha. So these people are actually inimical to those who help them. They see it, So the foolish person doesn't see what others do for them. They're just going through in their own selfish cloud, and they want love, but they don't even see that anyone loves them. The Guru Druha, they see that others love them, but they're inimical, and there's 3 categories that are going to keep getting worse. So the first is that where there's some reason to hate a benefactor. So someone's done 100,000 million things to me for my benefit, but they did insult me yesterday. So I feel because I have some cause, I can hate them. So that's the lowest level. The next is when you hate someone who's never done anything wrong for you. They've only been your benefactor, but still you envy and hate them. And the worst is when someone's only been your benefactor and you actually want to hurt them and you do your best to hurt them. So these are the summary of the 9 persons. Those who are selfish. The apparent loving relationship is a business exchange. Now, there's nothing wrong with a business exchange if it's a business exchange. But if it's a business exchange disguised as love. Selfless giving. Either you're an enlightened being, you're a pure devotee, or the kind of selfless love we find in a family. Someone who's indifferent to loving relationships, either because they're fully satisfied within themselves. Spiritually, they feel satisfied materially. They're ungrateful because they're foolish, or they're actually inimical. They hate a protector over some slight reason. They hate people for no reason, loving people for no reason, or they actually injure those. So we talked about this yesterday, so I'm not going to, again, talk about it so deeply. We might think, well, I want to be this 2A, I want to be the enlightened being who loves everybody unconditionally. Now, if we just imitate that, but in our heart we're still doing a business exchange, it won't be sustainable. So if I think, I'm just going to love you unconditionally, I'm just going to love you unconditionally, but inside I'm thinking, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, what did you do, what did you do, what did you do? Eventually it will explode. I told the story yesterday of a couple I knew, married for 10 years, seemed to have a perfect marriage, never argued, never any problem, and after 10 years she said, I'm out of here, I never want to see you again. And he's like, why? What did I do? I thought everything was fine. And it turned out that for 10 years she was just like suppressing everything. Right? She was keeping score, pretending she had selfless love. And then there was like the tectonic plates, right? Where the pressure builds up and then there's an earthquake. And with 10 years of built up frustration and resentment, the relationship couldn't be fixed, unfortunately. It was an extremely unfortunate situation. So what we should not do is pretend. Spiritual life and authenticity have to go together. You cannot have spirituality if you're not authentic with yourself and with the Lord who already knows everything about you. So rather, we should be trying to cultivate this selfless love. And there's this wonderful book, Madhurya Kadambini, by one of our great previous teachers, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, where he says we start off as just being totally absorbed in ourselves. Even though we might not think we are, that's the reality. And our actual spiritual love is just a trace. And as we grow our spiritual love, our selfishness diminishes. And when it gets to about halfway, we become fixed in spirituality. Now, a nice comparison is we can think about selfishness, and I give this example all the time, we can think of selfishness as like fake fruit juice. Do they sell that here in Belgium? I know they sell it in America. Water, it's just water with sugar, and they put some coloring, fake coloring in it, and they put some fake flavoring in it. Right? You must have that kind of thing here. And maybe they put a few drops of real juice so that they can put on the label, contains real fruit juice. Right? In some big jug, there's just... So let's say you have a cup full of that. So that's our merchant mentality, or our ungrateful or inimical mentality, perhaps. And our cup is full of that. And we would like to be filled with this divine love so we can actually be giving others pure, unconditional love. So we take that and we start pouring it into our cup. It's like if you took real fruit juice, you went out to an orange tree and you pick some oranges in season and you made fresh, pure orange juice. How many of you have ever had fresh orange juice like right in season? It's amazing, right? My father used to make fresh orange juice for me every morning. And so I have no taste. Like if someone gives me bottled orange juice, I'm like, So let's say you take the real thing and you start pouring it into your cup full of this fake juice and you just keep pouring and pouring and pouring. What's going to happen? The proportion in the cup is going to change, right? As you keep pouring and pouring and pouring, gradually, the mixture is going to come so that it has more and more real juice and less fake juice. And eventually, you're going to have real juice and you never will have had an empty cup. So as we start filling ourselves with genuine spirituality, the nature of our relationships change. And what happens, how can people be actually really, genuinely just giving and loving? Because they're so full of divine love, they don't need anything from anyone. They're like this Atmarama who don't need anything. But this love is overflowing, so anything they give to anybody, they don't need anything in return. Now that doesn't mean that you allow people to abuse you, because we're also part of the divine. It's not that we should let people, beat us and insult us and we just stand there. We also have some duty to take care of ourselves and report criminals to the police and so forth. But we don't have any enmity towards anyone. Do you follow? Yeah? For my duty to protect myself as a part of Krishna, my duty to report this person to the police, to have peace and justice in the world, doesn't mean I have to hate the person or have maliciousness toward them. I still have love for everyone. I'm not distinguishing, I love my friends more than my enemies, or I love people who do things for me. There's no more calculation. There doesn't need to be, because I'm overflowing with love. So the gopis, hearing this analysis of Krishna, they wondered. They're like, okay, you're not a merchant and you're not merciful like a family member. You must be one of those ungrateful people. This is where we ended yesterday. Okay, so if we can say these verses together, I'm not going to do, I say and you repeat, if we can just say the Sanskrit and the English all together. Naham tu sakyo bhajato pijantum bhajam yamisham manuvritte vrittaye yata dano labda dane vinashte chachintayanyan nibrito naveda. In English. But the reason I do not immediately reciprocate the affection of living beings, even when they worship me, O gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. They then become like a poor man who has gained some wealth and then lost it, and who thus becomes so anxious about it that he can think of nothing else. That's 20, this is verse 21. Evam madarto gita loka veda swanam hiyo maya nuvritte bala maya paroksham bhajata tirohitam masu hitam marhatatat priyam priya. My dear girls, understanding that simply for my sake you had rejected the authority of worldly opinion of the Vedas and of your relatives, I acted as I did only to increase your attachment to me. Even when I removed myself from your sight by suddenly disappearing, I never stopped loving you. Therefore, my beloved gopis, please do not harbor any bad feelings toward me, your beloved. And text 22. Naparayam ham niravajyasam yuyam swasadu krityam vibudayutapya yama bhajam durjana ge hasrin kala samrishyatadva pratyatu sadhuna. I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. So now Krishna is going to go through all of these types of people and relationship and show as the Lord, that on one hand you can say he is like that, and on another hand you can say he's not like that. Just like in the Sri Upanishad, it says the Lord walks and does not walk. He is very far away. He is very near to all. He is inside everything, yet he is outside of everything. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Maya sarvamidam partam sutre manikana. No, that's not the one I want. What is it? Dinam natsani sarvabhutani nachaham te suvasita. By my energy I am everywhere and yet I am not everywhere. So here Krishna is saying, yes, I'm the merchant. Right? No, here he says first, I'm not the merchant. He says I'm not the merchant because people worship me and I don't reciprocate. So how could I be a merchant? I'll be a pretty bad merchant. But I am. I do reciprocate. So you could say I'm a merchant. As people surrender unto me, I reciprocate accordingly, even if they don't see it. Even if it's not visible to them, even if it's not obvious to them, I am reciprocating. And I'm not the second one. I don't just love everybody no matter what. This is Krishna with Duryodhana and Arjuna. We don't have time to tell the whole story. So we could say, like Duryodhana, he invited Krishna to his house, and Krishna said, no, I'm not coming to your house. You don't have any love for me. And Vidura invited him. He said, yes, I'm coming to your house, even if you feed me banana peels. So he could say, you could say, I'm not the second person. I don't just love unconditionally. But yet I am the second person. Because I care for you even if you don't care for me. Does Krishna care for everyone? Even if they don't care for him. And he says as far as being indifferent. Now this is really funny, and again, we don't have time to go into depth, but one has to really understand something of Krishna and all of his avatars to understand what he's saying here. He's saying, in my form as a Supreme Lord, you can say I'm Atmaram and Aptakami. You can say I'm fully self-satisfied, I have everything I want, I don't have a need for any relationship. But in my avatar as Krishna, my manifestation of Krishna, I appear to be a little cowherd boy, and I'm not acting like that. I'm in the mood that I do have desire for relationships with others. You could say, I'm not really an Atmarami because I'm attracted. Someone who's spiritually self-satisfied is not attracted by anything. And he said, you can say I am, but I'm not because I'm attracted by your talking about me. And I'm not indifferent. All the living beings in all the worlds and all the universes, I'm not indifferent. Nitya Nityanam Chaitanyas Chaitanam Eko Bahanam Yudradati Kalaman. I'm fulfilling everyone's desires. How can you say I'm indifferent? And if you want to say, I'm Aptakami, I don't have any desires, because I care about the love of my devotees, I want to maintain them. I don't need anything, I have everything I need. But still, Krishna's saying I have this need to reciprocate with my devotees. He says, you can say I'm self-satisfied, I have unlimited opulences. But to love my devotees, I don't act as if I'm that kind of person. I act as if I'm not fulfilled. I act as if I'm not satisfied. I act as if I need the love of my devotees. And could you say I'm just a fool? I don't see what people do for me? You could say that here I am as Krishna. I'm a little uneducated cowherd boy. I haven't been to school yet. I'm a foolish person. But as Narayana, I know everything. Do you see how he reversed it? First he says, as Narayana, I have everything, but as Krishna, I don't. And here he's saying, as Krishna, you can say I'm foolish. As Narayana, you can say, I'm not foolish. But even if you say, as a little cowherd boy, I don't have schooling, and therefore I might be ungrateful, still, even as a little cowherd boy, I will give myself, right? Give Krishna a little leaf and he's grateful. So I like to tell this story. I visited this devotee's house one time, and you see the deities on the right side, Jagannath, Balaram, and Subhadra. So these devotees had a form of the Lord like this in their home, but only this small. Have any of you seen that? Like that they're on like a little wooden platform. They're like this small. This, all three deities this small. So they had them on their altar. So they're going to give them water, and their water cup was this small. So you'd have to take an eyedropper, you know, 1 drop of water. And so they're offering 1 drop of water to God. Now, if instead of giving me a cup of water, someone gave me 1 drop of water, I wouldn't be very happy. But Krishna is so grateful. Someone gives him 1 leaf, especially tulsi leaf, but even you give him a spinach leaf, a lettuce leaf. Anybody can get some water or a lettuce leaf. Anybody can pick a flower. You don't require any riches. You don't require even to have much intelligence. You don't require to have practically any talent. You don't require anything. And you give Krishna that, and he'll be grateful forever. Oh, they've done something for me. This amazing gratitude of Krishna gives us great hope that although what I offer to the Lord is insufficient, if we're honest, and if we don't have a merchant mentality, I've done so much for you, God, what have you done for me lately? You know, but if we really see that, what do I have to offer? But still, he's so grateful. I don't think you're going to find anybody in this world that has this extent of gratitude. Of course, we should also cultivate this kind of gratitude if we don't want to be a foolish person. If we don't want to be a person who doesn't notice what people do for us. The counter to that is always developing gratitude. Gratitude for every little thing. And not just looking at the result of what people do for us, but looking at their sacrifice. Huh? Like we want people to look at our sacrifice? Looking at their sacrifice. Looking at their effort, looking at their intention, looking at their endeavor, even if the result is a mess. And being grateful for everything that Krishna gives us. Then he says, you could call me Guru Druhi because I gave you up. I left you in the forest. So you could say, I'm a Guru Druhi. But you could say, I'm not, because I came back. I didn't leave you forever. So Krishna, for each of these, is saying, you could say I am, you could say I'm not. Now he's going to reveal, why does he act this way? Is this a question we all have? Why does he act this way? You know, people often ask, one of the main questions people ask is, why can't I be in touch with the divine every moment? Why does it come and go? Now, part of that answer is, I haven't reached the point of steadiness yet, which is like about 50%. Of developing my love for Krishna and getting rid of my selfishness. So part of that is us. Part of that is I haven't personally reached the point of steadiness, and therefore I have to be unsteady by definition. If I don't have enough of my spirituality awakened. But the other reason is the way that Krishna is dealing with us. So Krishna's first talking about, for those like me, and maybe like some of you, who haven't yet attained love of God. He's coming and going. If any of you read the book, The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, any of you read that book? The Screwtape Letters. Any of you read that book? Oh my goodness. And there C.S. Lewis is talking about how in this world, everything comes in waves, including our spiritual inspiration. And he says the times when we're actually making the most advancement is during the times that seem dry, the times that seem that God has vanished from our life. When we look upon our life and we don't see him, but we still love him, we still obey him, we still follow him. that's when we're growing the most. We're not just growing the most in the times of ecstasy. And Krishna is saying, I appear to lead them for them to develop humility, for them to think everything I've done has been useless. I'm just an offender. I couldn't get any mercy. I'm so unfortunate. One's pride diminishes. Pride means entitlement. It's again part of this merchant mentality. I've chanted so many mantras, I've done so much meditation, I've given up so much worldly enjoyment I've done. I deserve enlightenment. Where is it? Why doesn't it come? Why doesn't it stay? But that mentality is exactly the opposite of spirituality. In spirituality, one feels, I deserve nothing, not in some depressed, low self-esteem, I deserve nothing, I'll never be anything, so why should I bother to get out of bed? Not like that. I'm so small, I'm insignificant, what can I give? What do I deserve? Therefore, everything I get is a gift. And therefore, everything fills me with joy, and the less one feels pride and entitlement, the more every single thing is a joyful gift of gratitude. And so therefore, Krishna comes and goes. And our acharyas are commenting that Krishna is saying, seeing them in lonely places, I endure pain 1,000 times more than theirs. What can I do? Their sincere prayers amaze me, but their hot tears scorch my heart, and their faint of despair causes me to swoon. Still, for their sake, I wait in silence. I endure it all to ripen their love. You ever picked an unripe fruit? Once when I was in Melbourne, so I had some people preparing a meal for me who'd grown up in India, where there's no plums or peaches or nectarines. They didn't know what those fruits were like. And now they were in Australia, and they bought them from the shop, and in the shop, are they ripe or unripe? Unripe. So not being familiar with these fruits, these people didn't know that these fruits they bought from the shop were unripe. And I suppose they were thinking, we don't know what these Westerners like. I guess they like these kind of hard, sour fruits. So they made me a fruit salad with unripe fruits. One wants to wait for the fruits to ripen. So for those who are aspiring for spiritual perfection, Krishna is coming and going so that we don't develop spiritual pride. You understand? I am so spiritual. I am so elevated. I am so enlightened. Which then actually keeps us from becoming enlightened. So he wants us to ripen. And for those who already have full love of God, he wants it to intensify. Don't we all want that in our loving relationship? Isn't that what we dream of? When people get married, they dream that they'll love each other more when they're 80, right? Isn't that the fantasy? You'll see some little video of, an 80-year-old couple dancing and look into each other's eyes as if they just met each other yesterday, That's what I want. I want my love to just increase and increase and increase and increase. In this world, does that usually happen? It doesn't usually happen. You love that little baby so much, you're thinking every minute, are they breathing? Are they breathing? If you go in the next room, you're thinking about them constantly. Now my kids are, my oldest one's 50 now. My God. The other two are in their 40s. Believe me, I'm not thinking all the time, are they breathing? Are they breathing? I can go a whole day without thinking about them at all. But when they were infants, I couldn't go a minute without thinking about them. Things in this world, it tends to decrease. Yes? But we want something that increases. And so those who are perfect in their love, there's this coming and going, which is described in depth in the book called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So that love is always increasing. Krishna says they become absorbed in remembering me, just like a poor man who gained some wealth but then lost it and can think of nothing else. Because the greatest happiness is this absorption in Krishna. So Krishna is coming and going. So people will have this the greater and greater and greater, increasing love dynamically forever. But then he turns to the gopis and he says, you're not in either of these categories. You're not people trying to attain love. And you're not even at the level of people who have love. You're the limit. And he says, I'm very sorry. How interesting that God can apologize. Only with a personal understanding of God can we understand that God can apologize. When I was a seminary student in my younger days, and I asked my religious leaders, Moses breaks the tablet of stone and he comes back up on Mount Sinai, and God says, I'm going to kill them all. And Moses says, no, you can't do that. You promised Abraham that his descendants would be numerous. You can't kill them all. And God says to Abraham, you're right, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. How can God, the all-knowing, the all-perfect, the all-powerful, say I'm sorry? But he's a person. These are personal relationships. And so Krishna says, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left you after I called you. He said, my arguments about increasing love don't apply to you. My motive in leaving you was different, not to increase your love. The gopis' love for Krishna is always increasing anyway. But actually, the reason I left you was to show everyone in the world that you are the greatest devotees. That even after waiting billions and billions of years to have a relationship with me, and then I call you, and I tell you to go home, and you stay, and then we're there laughing and joking, and then I disappear. You never stopped loving me. You didn't blame me. You didn't get angry at me. You didn't leave. You waited patiently for me. And when I came back, you accepted me. I wanted to show everybody this glory of yours. That's why I left. And I wasn't actually away from you. And he said, really? You've done more for me than I've done for you. How is that possible? How can we do more for the infinite than he can do for us? Is that possible? Impossible. But Krishna is a person, and as a person, he is so grateful. And he says, you did more for me than I can do for you. He said, you gave up your family, but I didn't give up mine. So I say, yeyatamam prapadante, but I can't do it. I can't actually give back for you. Be happy with your own love. Now, when I talked about how we feel when we're holding that baby, what are we happy with? Our own love. Our own love for this helpless, dependent being is filling us. We're happy with our own love. In this world, we often think, I want to be loved. And that's true. We all want to be loved and to feel that we're loved. But you know what? More than that is to be happy by loving. If I am happy with loving, then I am fully satisfied. And I gave the metaphor yesterday. It's like if you had a basin, like if you think your heart is of a container. And in that bottom of a container, there's like a plug. And what the plug is plugging is a spring, an ever-flowing spring of love for the divine. And this plug is our material attachments, our false ego, our lust, our anger, our envy, our greed. And when that's removed, even you remove it a little bit, that natural water of love fills this container of our heart, and it fills it so full. What did David say? My cup is overflowing. That's what we want. Srila Rupa Goswami talks about different kinds of hearts and at what temperature they'll melt. But he said, when your heart is made of nectar, it's always melted. This constantly flowing love. And Krishna is telling us, ultimately, we should be happy with that, because that is our happiness. So then hearing this, the gopis started to think. They thought, even though the Lord is perfect and he has no faults, he left us just to show that he was a debtor to us. We wanted to defeat him. We wanted to criticize him. We were in the wrong here. We've now been defeated by his love. And then begins the Rasa Lila. Thank you very much. Anything good in this presentation is from Srila Prabhupada, our acharyas. I've looked here at the commentaries, Srila Jiva Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the works of Kavi Karnapur. And anything bad in this presentation is my own responsibility. I hope you can please take the good and leave aside the bad. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So I think now we have a delicious breakfast for everybody. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.